Welcome back right here at 940 in the heart of the River Bend. That's downtown Alton on this, indifferent Monday. I like that a little bit better. And last week, from January 30th to February the 3rd, we observed Identity Theft Awareness Week. And even though, listen, I get it, I'm a few days late, it's always something really important to talk about because you never know when you can utilize this information. But don't take it from me. Take it straight from the source. Joining us now from Experian is Mike. And whether it's the Global Data Breach Resolution, being the director of it, or the VP of Consumer Protection, you got all the titles, don't you?
Well, like I say, I'd rather be good at a couple things than great at one thing.
Same here. I think that's why I just decide to throw it all at the wall to see if it sticks,
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, Mike, I really appreciate you joining us here in downtown Alton today. And, right off the bat, I think the best way to overview this or, kind of start talking about it is just to define, the definition of identity theft. What is that common definition?
Well, I use a very simple one, CJ, and that is it's taking personal information from someone else to gain access, to steal money, to gain credit, or commit another crime. So whether it's your name, your address, your social security number, credit card, it's all very personal, shouldn't be shared with other people, and they can use it against you.
Absolutely. So a big point of this is really identity theft really just doesn't have to do with stealing money or losing some credit card information. It covers the gauntlet of who we are.
There's no question. And there's other ways that you can get access to the information legally, but you can also use that information to commit a crime. You can take physical assets like a driver's license, a passport, a company ID badge, and use it to do something bad without doing anything online.
And that makes so much sense. And I think it's really important to highlight that for the, older folks out there who maybe just always see the commercials on television, because I see them all the time where it just kind of goes through one portion of identity theft. Maybe it's credit card information, but not really the personal identity, the social security card information, and so much more. And it's really important to talk about it. But a big question that I always, kind of get asked and that I ask everyone is, how do I even know if my identity's been, stolen? Is there, just one day you find out that all your account information's gone? Maybe there's no money in the account. Is there a way to truly tell when that process started?
CJ, identity theft is an issue that the more aware you are and the earlier you catch on to something, the less impactful it can be. So If you see unexpected bills, you have other mail showing up at your address addressed to somebody else, you have a declined debit card or a credit card during a transaction, strange calls from people that you don't have in your contact list, alerts from your bank, and most of your financial institutions, you can set up alerts to say, hey, an amount over this dollar figure was taken out of your account, or there was a transaction made overseas. And then finally, any of the apps that you have on your phone, you've got to be careful because some of them can be fraudulent and some of them can take your information. But if you find a strange app and something's going wrong, be suspicious because generally it may be the start or precursor to real identity theft.
And, just something that I've noticed quite often lately is I'm getting bombarded with these very bizarre text messages, texts that give you this weird link that says my package is being delivered, or, you have an outstanding bill from a company I've never been affiliated with or made a purchase from. Is that all correlated to identity theft awareness and watching out for those links?
Yes, the sum total of what you just talked about would be called a phishing attack.
Okay.
So they're going to generally send you via email and or text a link to click on, and by clicking on that link, however interested you are in it, don't click on any links from anybody that you don't know or didn't immediately, like say in the last hour, say, hey, CJ, I'm sending you this link. Here's what it's for. Just delete it. And if people really need to get a hold of you, if it's really that important, you can reach out to them but don't be clicking on anything, whether it's email or text that's coming into you.
And I really have zero expertise compared to yourself, sir, about identity theft. But if they want to collect your bill money, they're just going to give you a call and let you know about it every 5 minutes until you pay, just from personal experience, you know?
Right. It's the same thing with the IRS. The IRS isn't going to text you.
Yeah.
They're actually going to send you a physical letter, and then worst case scenario, they're going to call you, but they'll let you know in advance, hey, we're going to call you.
Absolutely. And, something that I think is the biggest question, because, we get to that point where maybe we do know that something's wrong. We're seeing red flags. What's the first step, that we need to take when our identity is being used and is being stolen?
Well, the things that I suggest are, first of all, if you get an alert from your bank and something's not copacetic, go ahead and call the bank, tell them you suspect something's going on. You can also go ahead and check your credit report, and you don't have to have a credit monitoring app. You can get a free copy of your credit report at annualcreditreport.com, and that's something that Experian, the other two bureaus, sponsor. And then what you should do is reach out. If your, let's say, bank card maybe used someplace else, reach out to that banking institution. So check on it first and validate. Then next, if you really think something's going on, file a police report. You can also file a report with the FTC. And then most recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, especially now during tax filing season, you can go out and reach out to the IRS, and they can shut down or flag your account so nobody can file a fraudulent return without using a special PIN that they'll give you.
And you know what? That's a very great, insightful thing to know about. And also, not to put you on the spot, and I do this to everybody, no matter if it's a PGA golfer or the vice president of consumer protection with Experian. And I've noticed that during the pandemic, people were filing for the federal loan to help them kind of bridge that gap and help in
Yes.
the pandemic. And I noticed so many people getting, looking and seeing that their, information was being used to obtain some of these loans. And that's a pretty dangerous, situation and scenario. Was that something that you were ever aware of, or that, you ever saw yourself?
I didn't have that happen.
Okay.
But my wife is a small business owner, and just at the beginning of the pandemic, she took out a loan as a precautionary measure, which we paid back. But before she actually went to the site, I wanted to check and called some people and checked out the site myself, because there were fraudulent sites that were set up where you thought you were applying for whether it was a loan or free money, but it actually was taking your personal information and was starting an identity theft scam. And it happens a lot. This time of year, a couple of the big scams that are going on, of course, follow up to Christmas gift cards.
Oh.
Then you have the romance scam. Valentine's Day is coming up. You go to a website and there's this beautiful man or woman or whatever out there.
Right.
And you think, oh, hey, I can just click on this link. And of course, it's downloading your personal information, or you're downloading malware on your computer. So scams can come in all shapes and sizes.
And sir, something else that I was thinking about too, just at lunch, because I was discussing, having you coming on the show, and we were going to talk about this, and it makes a good point. With phones today, you can put all your bit of, personal information, whether it's credit cards, your driver's license, all of this important stuff is right there for electronic or contactless payment. Is that an issue to watch out for?
Yes, there are apps that will sit on your phone, and they actually can go inside the operating system. So let's say you have your driver's license stored in there, or you have your credit card, as you say, or passport number. They can go in and look at your photos. They can take that information out of it, let's say your memo pad where you may put it in there, and you don't even know it's being taken and absorbed right off your phone. Wow. And to your point, CJ, people that, they have their phones, and then not only do they have their phones with the information stored in, but they'll have on the back the little place to put your driver's license, credit card, and all that. You have your whole everything in one spot. I mean, come on.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I think it segued, kind of perfectly, and you hit on this a little bit earlier. But so identity theft does it only happen online? I mean, it seems like if even you throw bills out, and somebody that's going through your garbage that might get your social security information could pick up on that.
Well, we joke about it in our industry is that one of the earliest forms in the last 20 years, what we call dumpster diving, which is going in someone else's trash. That still happens. And I'll give you a great example where it happens even more simply than you think. So you go into a restaurant, you ask for the bill comes over, the server takes your credit card and goes away to go allegedly, print out the copies. You get your copy, you sign one for the merchant. And they could be just writing down your credit card information on another note. You don't see it, right, and it's gone. They don't even have to dive in the dumpster for that. Or you see the passport guy at the border entry, and all of a sudden he's looking at your passport, and all he has to do is go down below, and like he's scanning it, and what he's doing is making a copy of it for himself or herself. And so it still goes on to this day, but online identity theft is the most prevalent because you don't have to be physically there. You can do it from the comfort of your own home, and it's one to many versus the old, one at a time type of stuff, which is the dumpster diving.
And so for when it comes to identity theft, offline, when it's just, I guess the old way of doing, of ways scammers used to do things, what is the best way? Is it just, making sure you're shredding documents if it's all offline just to prevent that, dumpster diver from getting that information and being aware?
Yes, that's the most prevalent. For physical things, shred everything. Anything that you're not going to need from longer than 3 months ago, probably with the exception of taxes. Save your tax forms. I think you're required to have 5 years of tax returns, but all the other receipts, everything else can be shredded.
And that's something that I wanted to ask, because so many times I think that, especially when I think of my grandma, right? And, she does her bills and it's like, you're just throwing those in a Schnucks bag. You aren't going to at least rip them up a little bit. Come on now. And then we got the paper shredder.
Yes. And that's a really good thing, because it also reminds you, hey, I have to get rid of this stuff. Yeah. The same thing applies to stuff on your computer, because I know some people in their personal email accounts, they have stuff that's a year old or 2 years old that can all be deleted.
Right.
And there's no reason to save it. The less you have, it's the less is more adage is a good thing for identity theft protection.
And now, is there a way that we can maybe, I hate to use the word because it's coming up to be tax season, but is there a way we can almost audit our online, footprint, or at least, kind of check it out to see how much information that we have out there is, truly out there for the taking?
It's very hard to know where your information is, because let's say you may use a site in particular where you've shared that information.
Right.
Most people don't read all the fine print in the terms and conditions. And most of these sites that make it more convenient for you also say that they can resell that information and share it. So they may not be resharing right. your credit card, but they could be resharing your buying history, your location history, device ID, as well as name and address. And that's all gone onto other sites that you may not know of. So best thing is read the terms and conditions. Don't share your information. And then also you can monitor the dark web. And the dark web is where the criminals have as a bazaar to buy and sell stolen information. It can be used to sell drugs and patents and all the other stuff, but actual personal identity information for identity theft, it's bought and sold more often on the dark web than anything else. It's not foolproof,
right?
But at least it. If you see it out in the dark web, you know that it has been compromised, maybe once or many times over.
Absolutely, and that is an excellent point that I didn't even think about with the side of the dark web and basically the internet version of the black market. How can I help the older adults in my life? Maybe it's somebody that's in their 70s, 80s that really isn't in depth, or right in the thick of it with technology and all of this information. How can we help?
Well, there's the same list applies whether you're young or old. And let me make a point, CJ. You're right. Older adults aren't technologically savvy,
Right.
and that puts them at higher risk. But even the 20-somethings, the Gen Zers, are just as susceptible because
Right.
they're so comfortable with technology and so trusting.
Yes.
They do things that we otherwise wouldn't do. They'll click on a link because it's a great chance to get a discount on a surfboard or whatever.
They said $500 Amazon gift card,
Yeah, free. So don't click on any links. Don't answer any phone calls from people that are not on your contact list. Don't use public Wi-Fi. Use a virtual private network, which you can pay for. Make sure that your router at home for your cable is encrypted,
Okay.
so that you're not transacting on that. And then when you're online shopping, up in the upper left-hand corner of the URL, which is the name of the website, it should start with HTTPS, which means secure socket layer. Have a little lock on it maybe.
Right.
But without that S, it means it's an open website and anything you put on there is public information.
That is very insightful, and I didn't even know about I honestly didn't know that's what that stood for. That's really good for me to know too. And with you coming on the show today, sir, I really appreciate it because I know that you have a lot going on, and for you to educate us here in the St. Louis Metro East here in downtown Alton, I appreciate it. And just like this way of helping us kind of raise awareness and prevent hopefully some of this from happening, what are some of the other ways that Experian is helping prevent identity theft with its consumers?
Well, there's one website which has consumer tips, ways to protect yourself, tips and tricks. It's www.experian.com/data breach. So that's the one-stop shop. The other thing I would recommend, we have a product called Identity Works, which is an identity theft protection product, and that will give you the credit monitoring. It'll give you $1 million of identity theft protection insurance, as well as fraud resolution for as long as you need it. And we give it to consumers that have been impacted by a data breach. And that will give you that early warning. And it will also give you the phone a friend help if something happens. And then last but not least, be suspicious. If it seems too good to be true, it is, and it'll probably lead to identity theft.
I really appreciate you taking time out to talk to us about this very serious topic. Even though Identity Theft Awareness Week was last week, you know what? There's no better time to talk about it than the present now. And hopefully, have these discussions very frequently with the older adults in our lives and just everyone to, anyone, because we all need to be informed. And Mike, thank you so much for joining us today and educating our listening audience here in downtown Alton.
Thanks for having me, CJ. Appreciate it.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap up our 9 o'clock hour right here in the heart of the Riverbend.